market was relevant in Brazil, is not relevant in China. Next question, please.
Over you, Patricia.
Okay, we just have one more last question because many of our students' suggestions have already been covered. I just wonder if Philip could enlighten us about his thoughts about European Union energy policies. Do you think that the new directives that are coming after with the third liberalization package, do you think that they can make any impact on China's policies?
Patricia, thank you. Could you elaborate that? I thought you were going to ask if Europe could implement its own policies. Could you elaborate on how these European policies, to which my answer would be no. Could you elaborate on to what extent or in what way the Europe's policies would influence China's policies?
Well, I think your opinion is already an answer. Here we feel rather lost amongst all these directives, and one step forward, two steps backward. But I think I was just wondering if anything that Europe could do or implement could influence China energy policies.
I think there are two types of engagement. I mean, there is political engagement, and this is happening dedicated to energy policy. That's 4 British members of staff in the British Embassy in Beijing dedicated to energy and environmental policy. So I think if you then say, well, probably the Danes and the Dutch and the Germans are all doing the same thing, the political engagement between European member countries, anyway, some of them, and Chinese government on energy strategies and environmental strategies has increased dramatically in the last 2 or 3 years. And so this is, I suppose, is part of an educational process to persuade China to take environment, global warming and energy efficiency more seriously. And I think that, yes, this is starting to work. At the other level, I think there are 2 other strands one could see of influence of EU or member states in China. One is active engagement in policies and technologies and training related to new technologies, efficient technologies in the different parts of the energy sector. And obviously one of the key issues there will be intellectual property rights, because China wants quick and ready and cheap access to the best technologies. And I'm not up to speed with the detail of that, but that is clearly an issue that the West is trying to help in China because it's to our benefit as well. Then I think there's another sort of field of engagement which is between the European Union and China and Africa, because Africa is clearly on the EU's agenda from the point of view of energy development and energy security, and from the point of view of aid and development. So I think there is a convergence there. There's a wish from the European Union to work with China on a common...
Okay, thank you. We have no further questions from Portugal.
Okay, so we may take we have one last block of 3 small questions, so please.
Okay, Edmilson. Edmilson?
Yes?
Can you just take 20 seconds break to top up my water because I've got an irritating cough. Literally, okay. I will be back in 2 seconds.
Is it possible...
A Escócia deve estar mais frio, não é, Edmilson? Daí a tosse.
É possível ter por escrito as perguntas que vieram daí depois?
Algumas sim, outras foram mesmo agora, de improviso.
Mas se os alunos pudessem escrever mais ou menos, porque nós vamos publicar aqui para os nossos outros alunos que não puderam participar.
Tudo certo. Eu vou tentar organizar e mando por e-mail para você.
Muito bem, obrigado. Obrigado.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Professor. I'm Kaya. My question is, if you think that the reducing of the energy intensity is a real issue for China, do you think the country may become more flexible in its industrial policy, reducing its ability to keep building the heavy industry? And is this aggressive development policy still possible given the current world economic scenario? Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Olavo and here's my question. In Brazil, fast-speed economic growth is always related to weak environmental rules and high environmental damages, including deforestation and terrible social problems in rural and ecologically sustainable growth in emerging countries.
My name is David, and I have a question for you. In Brazil, promotion biodiesel and ethanol became a major component in the domestic energy and environmental policy. What are the prospects for bioenergy in China? Is it realistic for Brazil to think of China as a huge importing market for its bioenergy? What kind of barriers still exist and what kind of infrastructure is still lacking in the bilateral relationship?
Please.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's start with the question from Kyle Yang on heavy industry. I think there are two aspects to the question. One is the truly heavy industry infrastructure, steel and whatever that goes into construction that China needs for its own development, roads, railways, pipelines, houses, offices, factories. This China will need for the foreseeable future because hundreds of millions of its population still live in very simple conditions. And the question is not whether it will build all these new things, but how fast. The second is, of course, on the manufactured exports, which is not as energy intensive as the steel and cement and whatever, but it's still relatively energy intensive. And I think it's interesting, there was a report from the University of Sussex last year that showed that some 30% of China's greenhouse gas emissions were directly related to exports. So yes, you could say if China was